Greetings to you. Welcome to today's edition of Bolts of Wisdom. And today we're doing part 9 in this riveting series, Make Good Things Happen. This is part 9 in the series titled, Make Good Things Happen. We saw the last time that Joshua, the children of Israel, they've crossed the Jordan River. Just pick it up from Joshua chapter 4, verse 1. Read from the Amplified Bible class, Joshua chapter 4 from verse 1. It is written, When all the nation had fully passed over the Jordan, the Lord said to Joshua, they fully passed over. The Lord said to Joshua, next, take 12 men from among the people, one man out of every tribe. Next verse. And command them, take 12 stones out of the midst of the Jordan, from the place where the priest's feet stood firm. Carry them over with you and leave them at the place where you will lodge tonight. Verse 4. Then Joshua called the 12 men of the Israelites whom he had appointed, a man from each tribe. Right? Next verse, verse 5. And Joshua said to them, pass over before the ark of the Lord your God in the midst of the Jordan, and take up every man of you a stone on his shoulder, as is the number of the tribes of the Israelites. Verse 6. That this may be a sign among you when your children ask in time to come, what do these stones mean to you? Verse 7. Then you shall tell them that the waters of the Jordan were cut off before the ark of the covenant of the Lord. When it passed over the Jordan, the waters of the Jordan were cut off. So these stones shall be to the Israelites a memorial forever. Very important, a memorial forever. In that situation, you see that this is a very important principle. That what God has done, you must keep testifying about what God has done. It must be documented. It must be passed on from generation to generation. And God told Joshua that to tell the people, to tell the men to get a stone there, each one from one of the 12 tribes of Israel, to set up as a memorial. And the instructions are very clear. Tell the children until it is a memorial forever that the Lord made us cross the Jordan. Very, very important. You see, this is, if you look at it today, this would constitute this is part of historical writings, report writing, keeping the history alive. It's very important. We have this in the Bible right now. This is documented. Report writing is very important. We need to be able to keep a record, a documentation of what God has done in our lives. When you take that picture, of before Christ and take that picture of after Christ, it's very important. Let people see what God has done in your life. A picture of when before you got the job and after you got the job, before you passed and after you passed, while you were sick and after you were sick. You see, you need to be able to keep memorials. Taking pictures is very important. Take pictures of yourself. Take pictures as family. Take pictures as friends. But it's important. You need to keep documentation. And very clearly, Joshua is telling them, you need to use this as a memorial to tell every generation of the children of Israel that they will know that they passed through the Jordan. God carried them over. Remember, they were going into the promised land. They were crossing the Jordan to go into the promised land. Now, in the promised land, God had promised the children of Israel. God was taking them to an occupied land. There were people in the promised land. God will take you to an occupied land. God will use you to make things happen. So it doesn't matter who is there. God will so give you enough grace, enough wisdom, and enough strategies that you take over. So they were to keep a memorial forever. I ask you, how many things that God has done in your life that you have kept as memorials? How many? It's important. What the exploits that God has done in your life, keep a record of it. Because that way, and let your children know about it, and let it be passed on from generation to generation. It will program the people and set them, your children up for them to experience also greater miracles and testimonies of God's goodness in their lives. So that every generation will have a record, a history of what God has done. Very important. So we see that Joshua there, and let's go to verse 10. Joshua 4, verse 10. Joshua, verse 10. It's written, "For the priests who brought the ark stood in the midst of the Jordan until everything was finished that the Lord commanded Joshua to tell the people. According to all that Moses had commanded Joshua, the people passed over in haste." Now notice here, it says the priests who had been at the front of crossing to flood the Jordan River, they were also the last ones to come out. All right. But very importantly, it says us very clearly that verse 10, that if that the Lord commanded Joshua to tell the people according to all that Moses had commanded Joshua. Notice, according to all that Moses had commanded Joshua. Now, many people, when they go to Joshua chapter 1, verse 1, you just go back there and you can read for yourself. Joshua chapter 1, verse 1 to about 9, where God tells Joshua that, Joshua, you shall arise, lead the people over the Jordan River to inherit the land that I shall give you. And then God tells him to be strong, vigorous, and very courageous. That was not the first time that God spoke to Joshua about that. That was a repeat lesson. God first spoke to Joshua about it in Deuteronomy 31. Let's go to Deuteronomy 31. This is very important. Verse 1. You want to make good things happen. We have just seen that Joshua did all that was told by Moses. Go to Deuteronomy chapter 31, verse 1. It says, and Moses went on speaking these words to all Israel. And he said to them, I am 120 years old this day. I can no more go out and come in. And the Lord has said to me, you shall not go over this Jordan. Next. The Lord your God will himself go over before you, and he will destroy these nations from before you, and you shall dispossess them, and Joshua shall go over before you as the Lord has said. You see here, Moses is 120 years old. God has already told him, you are not going into the promised land. And Joshua is going to take over. Very important. And Moses is telling Joshua God's plans. Let's go back to the next verse. See. Verse 4. So you see, they're going to possess a land which is occupied. Go back to verse 3. No, Deuteronomy 31, verse 3. The Lord your God will himself go over before you and will destroy these nations from before you, and you shall dispossess them, and Joshua shall go over before you as the Lord has said. So it's an occupied territory Joshua is going to lead the people into. But the Lord will give him enough grace to dispossess the enemy there. Go to verse 4 and says, and the Lord will do to them as he did to Sihon and Og, the kings of the Amorites, and to their land when he destroyed them. Verse 5. And the Lord will give them over to you, and you shall do to them according to all the commandments which I have commanded you. Can you see? Joshua's success in going over into Jordan is dependent on the words that Moses shared with them, words that God gave to Moses. So even though Moses has died and is gone already, all right, he's dead already, Joshua is functioning in the same vision that God gave to Moses, to take the children to the promised land. But notice here, Moses is a leader who is not selfish. He is interested to raise up another leadership. A key mark of success, if you want to make good things happen and want God to use you to make good things happen, you have to raise other leaders and give other people opportunity. Moses here is making clear, Joshua, your loyalty over these years has created an opportunity for you. So Moses was raising Joshua to take over himself, to take over from Moses. Moses knew he was not in the position forever and ever. He knew he had to raise somebody to take over. Excellent leadership produces other leaders to take over. So Moses shared this vision. Look at verse 6. He says, Moses telling Joshua, be strong, courageous, and firm. Fear not, nor be in terror before them. For it is the Lord your God who goes with you. He will not fail you or forsake you. Next verse. And Moses called Joshua and said to him in the sight of all Israel, be strong, courageous, and firm. For you shall go with these people into the land which the Lord has sworn to their fathers to give them, and you shall cause them to possess it. Verse 8. It is the Lord who goes before you. He will march with you. He will not fail you or let you go or forsake you. Let there be no cowardice or flinching, but fear not, neither become broken in spirit, depressed, dismayed, and unnerved with alarm. So you see there, Moses shared these words with Joshua before he died. Moses raised Joshua, prepared him to take over from him. If you want God to use you to make good things happen, be prepared to raise other people to leadership. God will increase the grace upon you. Never be intimidated. Moses raised Joshua. So by the time we go back to Joshua chapter 1, and we don't go through the arena, and God is telling Joshua to be strong and courageous, it's a repeat lesson, showing us very important. Although Joshua had heard from Moses, he had to hear again from God. It's a repeat lesson to make his faith continue to grow, to make the grace at work in Moses work in him too. It's not enough to listen to one message once. It's not enough to go through one verse once. You need to repeat going through these verses and rewatch these messages, and you build your message. You find even this program today, if you rewatch it tomorrow or even another day, you find out there are things God has used me to say which you might not have picked the first time. Very important. Make good things happen. Raise others to be leaders as well. You don't have a monopoly on leadership. There's enough grace for you to raise others to lead and prepare for the future, so that there is never a leadership vacuum. Make good things happen requires you to raise other leaders in line with God's word. We'll pick it up tomorrow. We're getting closer to the climax. You got to stay tuned in. God bless you.